Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday evening. I am recording this to give you more awareness on what's coming to our state with Tropical Storm Debby. As you may have heard from all my posts and maybe from other forecasters, there is a lot of rain coming to the state, especially from late Thursday night through Friday and into early Saturday morning. So I'm going to dig in all the details, the timing, potential rainfall amounts, and who and where we're going to see potential the risk for tornadoes and why we're going to see that risk. So anyway, let's start off looking at the latest infrared satellite imagery of Debby. This is centered over the eastern United States right now. You can see here that Debby is a lot weaker than it once was. This is because of that land interaction it had when it made landfall in Florida. So it has that ragged shape. So what you're looking at here is the infrared satellite imagery. So we're looking at the temperature of the cloud tops. So those reds, yellows, oranges, those are indicative of colder and higher cloud tops. This is where we're going to see mostly thunderstorms. And you can see here, there's really no defined area of thunderstorms around this low pressure center. So this is a pretty ragged tropical system, but that makes it actually a lot worse because when you have these ragged tropical systems, the impacts can spread way out of the center and they won't just be clustered in close to that center. So this is why we're going to see also that bigger risk as it interacts with the upper level dynamics of the atmosphere moving into Pennsylvania. And you can see here over Pennsylvania at this hour, you're not seeing those bright colors because right now a lot of the clouds over the state are low-level clouds, which means they're a lot warmer compared to these high-level clouds, which again are probably thunderstorms. And those areas are just getting pounded with rain. Some areas picking up as much as 20 plus inches the past 48 hours. So that is with the latest satellite imagery, and this will slowly turn north as we'll see in the Cone update. So this is the latest National Hurricane Center Cone update at 8 o'clock, their immediate advisory. Debby is right now a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm, so it did re-strengthen as it re-entered the warm waters off the southeast coast, but it's about to make landfall pretty much any minute. Might have already made landfall already, but it will then quickly start turning up the east coast over the next few days. So this is the cone of uncertainty. The low pressure track is expected to go through the state of Pennsylvania. However, it's going to be a post-tropical depression, so it's not going to have its tropical characteristics anymore as it interacts with the jet stream, and then it'll just go flying off the sea into New England and into eastern Canada by the end of the weekend. So once Debby starts to move northward, it's going to quickly gain speed, so it won't be moving as slow as it once was, but again, still bring the threat for very heavy rainfall. Again, as I mentioned, with that really disoriented system, we're going to have a large rain field, and again, that's just going to make impacts a lot more worse. And just another thing, keep in mind, with this cone of uncertainty, especially as we head into an active hurricane season, this does not imply impacts. This just shows you where the center may go, and this is based off of statistical errors the National Hurricane Center uses based off their forecast accuracy over the last 5 years. So the center can go anywhere from here to here, but there's also a 33% probability that the center can go outside of the cone at any time. So keep that in mind. And again, impacts do not equate to the cone of uncertainty because once again, you can see here how the cone is centered across central and eastern PA. Well, guess what? Impacts can be as far west as western PA and western New York. Far outside of the cone, in some cases, if we get into large post-tropical systems, we can have impacts occur as much as thousands of miles away from the cone of uncertainty. So again, when we head into hurricane season, keep that in mind. Just because you're not in the cone does not mean you will not see impacts. A little tidbit there. Anyway, let's get to our local Pennsylvania forecast. So this is looking at the latest run of the North American High Resolution Model. If you're curious of what time I'm looking at, you can either read the time in Zulu time up here, or the time is translated to Eastern time up here in the top left corner. Anyway, so let me go back a few hours. So this is starting out tomorrow. Tomorrow, basically a carbon copy of what happened today. We have this easterly flow centered across much of central and eastern PA. And anytime we have an easterly flow, no matter what month it is, we will see a cold, wet regime settle in across much of central and eastern PA because we have these Appalachian Mountains running through the center of the state. So when you have that cold regime with that easterly flow, you get that cold, moist regime because the mountains are basically helping to keep the moisture locked in. So you just have constant showers, drizzle, or if it's wintertime, you'll have flurries. But across southwest PA, they had some better conditions because we did see some of that clouds clear out there. But same thing going on tomorrow. Again, we have that easterly flow at the surface coming in, again, blocking out with the mountains. We're going to see that surface moisture stay locked in. Another day of dreary clouds, scattered showers, drizzle is expected. Temperatures only making up into the upper 60s to low 70s, but it is humid because, again, dew points are in the upper 60s to low 70s as well. So again, not really a big threat tomorrow. So again, by 1 p.m. tomorrow, again, just scattered showers, especially as we head into the evening and sunset again, just scattered showers, again, mostly cloudy skies. But you can already see how portions of Debby are starting to make its way closer to the state. So impacts will really begin to take toll not till late tomorrow night into early Friday morning. So now I'm at 6 a.m. on Friday. Heavy, moderate to light to moderate rain already starting to begin into southwest PA with a few pockets of heavier rainfall. And then moving forward even further, you can see how we get the really heavy rain begin to settle in. So this is by 10 a.m. now. So again, I have the circle time in Eastern time up here on the top left corner by 10 a.m. on Friday. Look at that. Heavy rain already falling across much of southwestern and central PA. And this is some ridiculously heavy rain. I mean, it looks heavy on here, but we're also adding a ton of tropical moisture, also favorable upper level dynamics that will help to really enhance this rainfall risk. So we're going to see some intense heavy rainfall rates falling across much of southwestern and south central PA by 10 a.m. Friday morning. And again, this is just one model. I'll show you another model where this is shifted a little bit further west. And then as we move into now by 1 o'clock on Friday, you can see how the heavy rain is mostly just centered across central PA, although much of western PA begins to start to clear out from the heaviest rain threat. And then as we head into the evening on Friday and then into the overnight hours, as the system begins to interact with the jet stream, it's going to quickly pick up its forward motion. So we're going to see the rain exit out as quick as it came in. And again, by Saturday, it should be a better day, although not everyone will be dry on Saturday, but I won't get into those details in this video. But at least most of Debby's impacts will be gone by Friday evening. So that is that. So again, quick in and out, but much of Friday will consist of very heavy rainfall across much of central PA and then into eastern PA by the late afternoon, evening, and overnight hours. So that is just one model. If we look at another high resolution model, which is the HER, you can see how this model has this just a lot further west. And look at that. But look at that. There's a sharp cutoff line from basically very heavy rain to no rain. I mean, this is just maybe 50 miles from nothing to a lot of rain. If you remember from snowstorms in the winter, same thing happens. So if you live in Western PA, small shifts in the track can really make a big difference on your rainfall amounts. And this same goes for Eastern PA. Small shifts in the track, big difference in rainfall amounts, especially if you're in the cutoff zone. And again, much of Central PA is already like in the thick middle of the heaviest rain, so small shifts won't really adjust that. But if you're on the fringes, so let's say like if you're in Pittsburgh, Butler, Meadville, Erie, Harrisburg, Reading, Philly, Scranton, those areas are on the either side of the outliers. So any small shifts in the track will have big implications on your rainfall forecast. So keep that in mind. And you can see same thing, heavy rain beginning by the early morning hours and then continuing into the early afternoon. And look at that. This is when it starts getting concerning. As I mentioned earlier in this video, we're going to have a tornado threat with this system. So Eastern PA, while the heaviest rain has shifted further to your west, you are now in a more dangerous situation when it comes to severe weather. Because when this gets, how this gets a little bit interesting is we're going to get potentially low top supercells develop on the eastern quadrant of this. So assuming I'm just based off, I think the low pressure center is around here based on just look at this look. And so it's going to be a remnant tropical cyclone. And when it comes to tropical cyclones, the reason they have a greater tornado risk is because when tropical systems are over the oceans, they're vertically stacked and have very strong winds from the surface all the way up to the troposphere. Or tropopause, my bad. However, when they make landfall, when you have the land friction affecting the surface wind speed, so let's say you have a Cat 5 making landfall, you're going to have surface winds of over 160 miles per hour. But you're also going to have very strong winds thousands of feet above the surface that are also above 160 miles per hour. But when that hurricane or tropical system makes landfall, it's going to interact with the surface friction of land, so the surface winds weaken, obviously, but the winds at the higher upper levels above the ground don't weaken as fast. So this is when you get all these tropical systems making landfall, surface winds weaken, winds aloft don't really weaken so quickly. In fact, they might even strengthen if you get other features such as jet streaks, jet streams interacting with that tropical system. So this is what I have here. So when you have slow winds at the surface but faster winds above the ground, that's called wind shear. And this is when you get a change of wind speed or direction with height, which is what we're going to see on Friday. And when you have high amounts of wind shear, you can get rotating updrafts, which lead to the threat for tornadoes. And this is highly concerning because in tropical systems, almost always on the eastern side of the system, when you're in the warm sector part, you're going to really have that increased tornado risk. And we saw that with Beryl last year, or not last month, seems like it was last year, but last month with Beryl, we had that tornado risk again that impacted north central PA and New York. And you saw that there was a tornado outbreak in New York with that. And this is pretty much the same dynamics, but a different setup. So we're not going to probably see a tornado outbreak. I mean, I'm not saying there's not going to be one, but we could probably have numerous weak tornadoes touch down, especially across eastern PA Friday afternoon, Friday evening, just because we're going to have a high amount of wind shear. And I can just pull this up to show you guys that this is an older run, my bad. Let me go back. So this is showing you storm relative helicity, which measures how much twisting we have in the atmosphere, or basically how much wind shear it's kind of quantifying how much wind shear we have from 0 to 3 kilometers. And just look at this, like usually anything above 300 is bad, but we're going to have values in the 5 to 800s range. So there's a lot of wind shear coming with the system on Friday, which means basically any strong shower, it doesn't even have to be a thunderstorm, it's going to rotate, and it's going to rotate quick. And since it's going to be humid, we're going to have what's called ground scraping clouds. So clouds won't be that far off the ground. And if you get a little rotating shower, even a rotating storm, it's going to try to produce potentially a tornado Friday afternoon, Friday evening. But since we do have the wind shear dynamics, we don't have the thermodynamics because it is going to be moist and not very warm. Like temperatures will be in the 70s, but it's warm, but not warm enough for like widespread tornado outbreaks or like violent tornado outbreaks per se. But still, this amount of wind shear, you're going to get at least, I'm going to say, several weak tornado touchdowns pretty much anywhere from central and eastern PA. I'm saying it's going to be, you probably shouldn't be like going crazy, but just keep that in mind. There will be the risk for scattered, potentially maybe numerous weak tornadoes Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Again, weak tornadoes. So I'm talking like EF0s, EF1s. I said that the thermodynamics will not be favorable for, again, long track strong tornadoes. So even though this wind shear is pretty much off the charts, again, thermodynamics, so the temperature dew point, will not be favorable for a widespread strong outbreak. It's going to be this weak spin up tornadoes, and this can happen anywhere. I can't pinpoint who's going to see one or not. Just be aware that potentially any strong shower, and if you even get thunderstorms, because again, not too great thermodynamics, if you get any strong thunderstorm, any strong shower is going to rotate like that, and it's possible that it can just quickly produce a tornado in and out. So just be mindful if you're in central and eastern PA Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Keep in mind, just it's going to be happening really quick. So enough of that, but again, I'll be posting more updates on that threat once we get a little bit more confidence in who's going to be in the best signal for that. But again, pretty strong tornado signal, I'm going to say, with the tropical system with, again, extreme wind shear values. And if you look at the significant tornado parameter, I mean, this is pretty high for a tropical system. Usually anything above 1 equates the potential for tornadoes, and we have values as high as 3 to 6 across portions of eastern PA. So again, please, if you're in central and eastern PA on Friday, keep in mind of the tornado risk as well, because it is going to be a lot higher. I'm going to say it'll be a lot higher than a regular severe weather day, just because of the extreme amounts of wind shear. Again, I showed you there was a lot of high values I saw there. So, okay, now enough of that for real this time. We're going to move on to the rainfall risk. So what I'm showing you right now is the national blend of models. Sorry, I don't know what I was saying. National blend of models. So this is blending a lot of model runs, their biases, and also shifts with these last few model runs, and just blend them all together. And you can kind of see where the heaviest footprint's going to fall. So the heaviest rainfall is probably going to be somewhere. Let me do a different color. So from central PA, much of central PA, portions of northeast PA, maybe even eastern PA, this is where it's going to be a heavy footprint. So while these values, so keep in mind, these values are pretty low compared to what the forecast says. I mean, they're still high, they're like 2, 3, 4 inches. But since it's a blend, it's like meshing in the mesoscale models, which are going to have a better footprint of where the heaviest rainfall is, and the global models, which are low resolution, they won't have those, higher amounts because the grid space is low resolution. So you're just blending everything together. But I feel like in this we're going to get 3 to 5 inches of rain with isolated amounts, potentially 6 to 8 inches, in my opinion. So again, depending on where the heaviest band's set up, some areas could see 6 to 8 inches fall on Friday. It will not shock me just because of how much moisture we're going to be dealing with the system. It's going to be a lot. So, but again, like I mentioned earlier, if you're on this, the colors I want to play with me. If you're on these outer fringes, so this Western PA people, I'm talking to you, and potentially far southeastern PA people, these two areas, shift west, you're going to get more rain. Shift east, you might not get much. It will really come down to the track over the next 24 hours. I mean, no one can probably pinpoint this down to the exact over which way it's going to track, because it really happens to what's going to happen tomorrow with the system and how it moves up the East Coast, especially interacting with boundaries and mountains. It's going to have different effects on the track. So I shift west, Western PA, you'll get in the heavy rain risk. Shift east, Western PA, you won't get much. But I think in general, these areas, you're pretty much locked in for very heavy rainfall. But again, Eastern PA and Central PA, just because you might not get as much rain, please keep in mind that tornado risk, because again, that will still be a legitimate threat as we head into Friday. So this is the NBM forecast amounts. And then the State College in the National Weather Service and State College has issued a flood watch that encompasses much of central PA. I think this goes into effect, I believe, tomorrow night through Saturday morning. And they're also highlighting these counties get as much as 3 to 5 inches of rain with isolated amounts of 7+ inches. So again, keep in mind that mesoscale flooding risk some areas could get a lot more than forecasted, and also some areas could get far less than forecasted. But general 3 to 5 inches is expected in this flood watch from the National Weather Service. And then let's jump into the excessive rain outlook, which I know a lot of people have questions about. So this is like similar to the severe weather risks issued by the Storm Prediction Center, but this is something else the Weather Prediction Center has recently implemented. I mean, it's probably been like 10 years now or something, maybe less than that. But they issue risks for the risk for excessive rainfall and flash flooding. And what's alarming is they pretty much issued level 3 out of 4 moderate, which I'm calling code red because someone's worried moderate, like, oh, it's not big, but this is a big threat because this was issued early on Tuesday, and this was issued 4 days out. So this means that they have pretty high confidence that if you're in this red zone, there's going to be numerous flash flooding events that will occur throughout the day on Friday. If you're in this yellow, you're in that slight level 2 out of 4. Scattered flash flooding events are possible, but again, a shift west, this risk will also shift west. So keep that in mind. And then if you're in the green, you're not completely out of the ball game, but still isolated flash flooding events will be possible. So it's a good thing to keep in mind because it's very uncommon for us to get a code red, level 3 out of 4 risk issued for excessive rainfall here in Pennsylvania. And I would not be surprised if we get a smaller contour, which will be a code pink or a high risk for flash flooding, which means it's almost a guarantee there will be just widespread flash flooding in that area if we get that. But still, it's a moderate code red level 3 out of 4. It's pretty much as high as you're going to get it this time out, especially for the state of Pennsylvania. So again, if you're in a flood-prone zone, please heed all warnings. If you live near a creek, river, low-lying region, as I've been saying the past few days, you need to prepare. Talk with your local county officials, local government to see what you can do best, especially if you live in those flood-prone zones, and especially if you're impacted by flooding often when it rains heavy. You probably should know by now how to prepare your home and building, so make sure you do that and just be aware. And then I'll show you before I finish this live stream off. This is the latest WPC rainfall outlook, which I posted also earlier this evening. Again, same thing I've been saying. Heaviest rainfall will go through much of central PA. Again, 3 to 4 inches in general, more like 3 to 6. But again, some isolated areas could see more than that, and some isolated areas will see more than that. It's really unknown which isolated areas will see more, just because it's based on convection, and those areas that get stronger rain bands will get heavier rainfall amounts. We won't really know that till day of. But again, Western PA, you're on that tight gradient. So again, west shift, expect higher rainfall. East shift, less rainfall. Same with Eastern PA. Shift west, less rainfall. Shift east, more rainfall. You get the point. Tough forecast, but again, much of central PA is pretty much locked in now. And the reason we saw this shift west, because this track has been shifting west. It was once expected to stay off the east coast, but now it's going to go through central PA. So that is why originally first Eastern PA was supposed to get that 3 to 6 inches of rain, but now it shifted west into central PA. And I mean, that's expected 5 days out, but now that we're like almost 1 day out, we won't see big shifts, but still, shifts are possible. That's what I just want to say, but still, take this threat seriously and prepare, especially central PA. You really want to be prepared for this risk. Anyway, thank you for joining me this evening. I will have more updates for you tomorrow. Updated rainfall maps. I'll have the new WPC Excessive Rainfall outlook. I'll have an update on the severe weather and tornado threat, and more of that, and potentially more videos if I have the time. And if you guys enjoy these videos, let me know, because I can start doing these more often. I think these are effective because I can better get the point across, and I can take my time, really let you understand the fine-tuned details of weather events and weather predictions. Anyway, have a good evening, and stay tuned and stay safe.